You're welcome to Springboard, your virtual university, the foremost developmental program. And on Springboard, you would find the sharpest, greatest minds conversating about the things that are important for our tomorrow. This program is brought to you by the Springboard Roadshow Foundation, and is proudly sponsored by Enterprise Group, and is also supported by the Ghana Growth Program, which is an initiative of the MasterCard Foundation and the Springboard Roadshow Foundation. My name is Jesse Agyepong, and this week, again, drum roll, I'm joined by Reverend Albert Ocran. We need to continue that conversation that we started. If you recall, last week we had uncovered the process for harnessing your talents, but this week, we need to ensure that we are guiding you in mastering it properly. And then subsequently, we'll talk about how to make money with it. But Rev, thank you so much for joining me again.
Good to see you. Thanks.
I'm delighted.
Thanks for making this possible. Your hosting allows me to sit where our guests normally sit and feel the way they feel, so we can serve them better and serve our viewers and listeners better.
Even better. I'm grateful.
Thank you.
Last week, I was intrigued by the Irene story. And we started a process of guiding the young people and the millions out there on the process for uncovering the talents. This week, we've dedicated the program to talk about how to master the talent. And once you've identified it, how do we put it through the furnace to build it all the way through? So my first question this week would be, how do you begin the process of mastering it?
Thanks, Jesse. So let's assume that you have an idea, even if you haven't settled on one big one. You have a range, with or without the methodology we used last week. The whole idea is, how do you move from having a fair idea to becoming the authority? And why is that even important? There are names that if I mention right now, without going to any dictionary, encyclopedia, you will tell me they are authorities in a field. Or even better still, if somebody came to town from somewhere, they didn't know anything about Ghana, and they said, I want an authority in this field, somebody will without being paid, recommend them. And they could earn income, and it could be a life-changing opportunity. And because I have so many friends, I'm very careful, but I will still do what I'm going to do next. And if I don't mention a friend of mine, please don't be offended. But randomly, out of my many friends, let me mention Constance Swanica. What comes to your mind?
Probably she's driven by service, volunteerism. She's driven by support for her charity works.
But it's in the area of TVET.
In the area of
technical and vocational skills.
Yes.
Bernard Avle.
Media excellence. Media excellence.
You see, you added excellence. Yeah. Anita Eskin.
Powerhouse. Communicator.
You see, you are adding an adjective to express to describe even the industry she's in.
Yes.
Let's move on to Theresa Ayode.
Theresa, innovator, events excellence.
Okay.
Yes.
Portia Gabo.
Portia would be strong, resilient.
In the area of
Portia, where would I put her?
Advocacy, documentaries, the vulnerable.
I'll put her
broadcasting
in advocacy.
Interesting. So she's a broadcaster, but you put her in advocacy because she's always pushing a cause for the vulnerable. Let's push on to Uncle Ibo White.
Storyteller.
Great.
Storyteller. He's perfect for that.
DWP.
Innovation. I see the world, I see innovation, I see dance.
Great. Chief Moment.
It's an African voice.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Shirley Frimpomaso.
Hollywood.
Hollywood, everything would. Jerry Ajolu.
MC Peraslas.
Okay. Dana Hamilton.
The voice.
You realize that, and I could mention 100 people, and you will be happy to place them somewhere and be happy for them that they are doing well in that area. How do you move from something you've discovered an interest in to become the authority? I would respectfully, Jerry, you mentioned Jerry, so
yes.
Jerry would be very happy in his
Oh, he's very happy that he's confusing me right now.
LPM. Jesse, but interestingly, if you allowed me, I would list a 12-point framework, and most of your thoughts may gravitate around them. Number one, volunteering.
Okay.
And these will be critical success factors. So not in any particular order, but volunteering will be number one. Number two will be mentoring and apprenticeship.
Okay.
Number three will be patience and stamina. Somebody will call it endurance, stamina. Number four, develop related gifts.
Okay.
Every talent has the related gifts. That's why they paid John Mikel Obi more than Michael Essien. How possible? How?
They're all playing the same game.
Yeah, they say our beloved Michael couldn't talk at interviews. He would rather play his football and go and sleep. So because Obi could talk more, they paid him more.
Interesting.
Football is leg, but the mouth added some to the salary. So develop related gifts. And then number five, relentless pursuit of excellence. And I'm adding these words, just the excellence could have been fine, but relentless pursuit. Number six will be invest time and money. Invest time and money. Number seven, order and structure. Order and structure. Number eight will be discipline and routine. Routine. Number nine will be integrity and commitment. Number 10, leverage the one talent into multiple expressions.
Fair.
We hinted on it a bit last week.
Yes, we did.
That one talent can have different expressions. Number 11 will be continuous improvement. And number 12 will be human relations, partnerships. You can't climb this mountain alone. So those would be my 12 top enablers,
critical
success factors for moving from the one small corner to the stage where you can't be ignored.
Interestingly, last week you shared a story with us of the young Albert in school who, in his view, dropped the ball and felt that the O in the room was the one that said to you that don't do this again. And then years down the line, you chanced on the same tutor or teacher who put you on that stage saying, I'm proud of you. So I would use that journey to attempt to walk through the 12. Now, when you left the stage, how important was this process of volunteerism to you?
You have a nice way of going about this, and I'm going to borrow from my own story where applicable. But if not, I'll just borrow from any of the people I've mentioned or any others that I may not even have mentioned here. So in my own life, volunteering, interestingly, I've reflected on the turning point in all that I do. And it was, I suspect, in the early 90s, right after university, volunteering as a youth pastor. As a youth pastor, it meant I had a group of young people, and the commitment to see them do well, not just spiritually, but also in every facet of their lives, made me commit to holistic development. And it meant that every single week you are with these young people, helping them, speaking with them. So my gift is communication. So I help them to develop a newsletter. I'll be speaking to them constantly. I created different events with them. So I learned how to curate platforms for communication with your target audience. I learned how to get feedback from them. I was not paid a pesewa, and I was never sorry. It was fun. And then along the line, other youth groups will come and say, can you come and do this for us? We're hearing stories about how these young people's lives are being changed. And then so it started with people calling you to come and do it. And then more serious people started calling you. And then one day somebody said, I'll be happy to give you something for doing this. You're like, listen, I will do it for free any day. Similar to what the twin said in the last conversation. So volunteering is very, very key. And even in the journey of Springboard, there were several years that we did what we did, and somebody would tap you and say, what is in this for you? And we said, we love what we do. But as you do it, you get noticed, and more partnerships create opportunity for you to serve a bigger audience. Still, the volunteering heart is there, but you don't always now have to scrounge for resources to reach the millions you want to reach, because your hard work now begins to get noticed. But it starts with volunteering.
I mean, interestingly, for me, I've never heard the story of you volunteering as a youth pastor, because I haven't followed the story of your beginning. So I've seen your story in the middle of he being an executive pastor. But so it's interesting you saying this. Now, after the volunteerism, did mentorship play any role in the process, and how did that manifest?
And one will say that the volunteering and the mentoring are interrelated, but I choose to separate them because the role of mentors in my life are very pronounced. And I don't even want to, there are mentors I've volunteered for, but I want to separate the mentoring part, because one lesson from a mentor can take care of 10 years of your life. There are things that I've learned from people ahead of me that I learned just by watching them. And I said last week that I've learned much more from Pastor Table by watching him than hearing him.
Yeah.
And hearing him is profound, but watching him is even more profound. Because I find that in the role I play now as pastor at the New Wine Temple, I often reflect on what would he do. And that's more than enough school for me. 20 years of watching him, I find myself asking, what would he do? What would Lady Joy do? That's the power of mentoring. Even when you are not speaking, your life is coaching someone. And that's where I would start from.
Fair.
I can mention somebody like Uncle James Ibo White, who said to me, before I read through your first book, give me the title of the second book. And I said, why? He says, listen, everybody has one book in them, so one book is nothing. So somebody asked me, how do you write 26 so far? Because James White said the one is nothing. So the first one was very, very good, but right up front, he made you understand you had a second book in you, and a third, and a fourth. Was it a very dramatic lesson? Not really. But he got it home. So I find that not just in my life, but in the life of several people, you will find mentors that pointed them to a direction. And very often when people hear mentor, they want somebody to sit down for hours with you. You can get a structured mentoring program, but you can learn by reading people's materials, watching them on radio and television or live programs, and just unraveling their philosophy, how they walk on stage, their opening comments. Somebody like Nido Kubeng. I've never met Nido before, but I can literally, that's what AI is doing now. AI can tell you what I would see if you invited me for a program.
True.
Give you a sense of what I'll see, how I would start it, how I'll wrap up. Because just by watching you do it over and over for years,
intelligence it.
they can intelligence it. I love that word, intelligence it. So one day, Constance Swanica mentioned that she had apprenticed for 5 years in a wood manufacturing or carpentry company. And so by the time she went to university, yes. So by the time she went through university, she knew that she would not work for anyone. She would start doing her own business right away.
Okay.
That is what apprenticeship does. Makes you know who you are and where you want to go with the talent. So the first one, yes, is volunteering. Not everything you do must be paid for. Sometimes it's good to submit yourself and learn under somebody. You may have accomplished something in one area of your life. Elisha was an accomplished farmer. He was riding with 12 yoke of oxen. The typical farmer in the Bible is using two oxes or oxen. Elisha was using 12, almost like mechanized farming. And yet, when he followed Elijah, Bible says he poured water on his hands, or he was ready to serve and learn. And then he ended up doing twice what Elijah had done. The problem, and I won't mention any category of people, the problem is that many people want to be at the top on day one. It doesn't work that way. So apprenticeship is number one. Mentoring, learning under someone, or apprenticeship is number two.
Fair. I have the skill. I'm going through a mentorship program, and you've said it's in no particular order, but I just want to sequence it. So I have the skill. I'm mentoring to learn. I go in through a process of mentoring. So I'm volunteering. I go through a process of mentoring and apprenticeship. But sometimes, to your point, young people might doubt the waiting period. How do you endure this whole building stamina, being patient? How did you master that?
Again, permit me to quote people that I respect.
Yes, sir.
Without their permission, but they won't be offended. One day, Pastor Table said somebody asked him the secret of his ministry. And the person was expecting a very powerful revelation. Then he said, patience. So the person was very disappointed.
What do I do with that? Patience, sir.
I mean, he says, it wasn't preaching. It wasn't, he says patience. And I'm sitting down saying it's true. The word patience itself doesn't tell the full story, because inbuilt in that patience is endurance. Inbuilt in that is consistency. Inbuilt in that is stamina. The ability to do one thing. I mean, somebody was asking last week, how do you do, let's say, greater works? Keep the speakers constant. And even in the most tried, you can expect. When I served him directly, he would arrive at a particular time consistently. So if I am serving under him, I tell myself, he can't arrive before me. I will arrive minimum 30 minutes before he arrives. And I kept that for a decade. The last day, I mean, here I am coming to work at a normal time, and my boss is coming 30 minutes earlier. And I'm like, no, he can't get there before me. It's a sacrilege. So when the light comes on, I speed. That endurance, that stamina, that following of process. And you'll find that if you looked at Bernard Able talking about volunteering at Radio Universe.
Yes, early days.
If someone took the Bernard Able of the universe, you say, oh, he has grown. Today is not the same. But if you are honest with yourself, you will realize that even then you will see a certain consistency.
Yes.
And then following through the process, you go and do your masters in everything, and it's back to the same thing, and it's developing it and it's growing it. So the consistency, the patience is very often the hallmark of people who
Stay the course.
They will stay the course.
You gave us a very interesting story of as a comparison between ACN and OB, and I think I'm interested in that, because let's explore this developing the related gift. Because hey, last week you said I should find my talent, you build a talent, and now you're saying that in building the talent there are other incidentals that would help you propel it. Let's talk more about that.
Okay, so let me just say that it was just a personal interpretation.
Yes.
If I spoke to Michael Essien right now, it may come out that maybe the agent was more negotiated better deal. But at one point he was interviewed and he says, I would rather, when I close, go and sleep for 14 hours, and that's where I get the stamina to play the game. But I'm just saying that listening to various experts on the EPL, the English Premier League, they make it sound very clear that in clubs, your routine. One day, Jesse Agyepong, former Liverpool goalkeeper, when he retired, he was asked how he feels. He says he was confused the first working day when he woke up. Because your life is determined for you. When you must train, when you must do your media circuit, when you must do this. So he woke up and there was no one telling him what to do, and he was confused. So the club makes money when you interview. There's a schedule for you. So if you are the person who would rather keep to yourself, they lose money, so they'll pay you less. I'm just saying that beyond your primary ability or gift, which in this instance is football, in other instances maybe crafts or maybe music, the musician needs to know how to do interviews. They need to know how to interact with audiences, sign autographs, build relationships with their various stakeholders. They must know how to manage the press, So you're like, all I want to do is play music. But you say one thing and then the whole month you are being torn apart on social media because you didn't say the right thing. So you must learn how to talk. You must learn how to manage the key stakeholders that press the buttons that make your work possible. And all these are extra skills. So for every talent, there are skills around it that you can't just say, I don't care. You have to care.
You have to care.
You have to care. So you need to manage the various related skills around your core talent to be able to grow in it and become excellent.
I find something very interesting because for some people it's difficult to even make the decision that this is the talent. For some, it's even difficult to even begin the process of mastering it. But you've introduced a very interesting bit, which is the relentless pursuit of excellence. So I need to now cook it a bit. And now you're saying that we need to be relentless in our pursuit for excellence. Doesn't that overburden the person? And how do you do that?
So let me borrow from a recent training that I was having we're having for a group of ministers. And you find that those who were at the top or those who were much higher up appreciated exciting lessons that were being shared. But those who were at the beginning stages, startups, kept saying, I'm small. How do I take the learnings and then do something big with them? But the interesting thing that the resource persons kept saying was that you are even better off when you are small, because when you set the stage of delivering value right from the beginning, your brand grows with that. People mention you and automatically they will tell the person that this person, they deliver.
Yes.
They are good. And so you grow with that kind of reputation. And so even if you are a beginner, that pursuit of excellence must be there. Some of the most accomplished people that you will think about, you will find that from the very day one, they made a decision that was contra-cultural. In a culture where people make a promise and they don't keep them, they decided that, listen, I would always keep my promise. And it pays. It pays big time because people notice you very easily. So the excellence need not be at a point where you are big. One of the things that we did when we started the Springboard Roadshow several years ago was to say that the opening prayer must be said 5 minutes to the event.
Interesting.
You don't need money to do that. It's intentional.
It's just a decision.
It's a decision.
Yes.
You know that it became so popular that our programs start on time, that as the programs got bigger, people came earlier. The highest record was the program that we held in 2010 at the Trade Fair Center, Pavilion A and B combined.
Wow.
For a 9 a.m. program, people arrived at 5:30.
Wow.
They were setting up and then they started reporting that people had arrived.
Wow.
They had traveled, some had arrived.
Buses.
5:30 for a program at 9.
Wow.
So when you set the standard early, I mean, if you went for an Ebo White program,
On time.
you know that, listen, rain or shine, it will start on time. So starting on time is not something I'm doing now. I mean, I don't start church on time now because I found that it's a good thing. From day one, that's how I've known things to be. So pursuing excellence upfront pays big time.
I love that. I want to add to that the concept of time and money, because in your pursuit of the excellence, how does time management and investing of money?
I guess that for anyone who wants to be exceptionally good at what you do, one of the most famous theories, let me borrow it if I can, Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hour theory. And it's been disputed. People say, oh, it's too simplistic, but I like simple things. Gladwell's book Outliers, The Story of Success, says that to become an expert in any field, whether it is in music, sports, chess, one needs to put in approximately 10,000 hours of deliberate practice. When you hear 10,000 hours, sounds crazy.
That's a lot of time.
If you talk to the experts in a game, you realize that literally that amounts to 10 years of their time, 12 years of their time. And that is why last week I was hearing Pastor Table say that everyone must start early in the field you want to master. Because when you start late, when do you get your 10,000 hours? And it's real. Because in that book, Gladwell used case studies. I was watching Michael Jackson's last rehearsal before he died. And that famous "This Is It" was it called?
This Is It.
Yeah, concert. And it was about like 9 hours, and it was summarized into a documentary. But the part that caught my attention, there was a certain movement he wanted to do on a crane, and the crane had to move and land at a specific point, and he was supposed to jump off it and land in a certain way and break into a dance. And the repetitive, just that one movement, like, it's okay. No, it must land. It must land on that note. It must land in that angle. It sounds perfectionist or idealist, but it's born out of repeatedly doing something with a certain outlook. And that comes from hours of investment of time, years of investment of time. If you don't have time, you can't become a master or an authority or a mistress or powerhouse in anything. But also related is investment of money.
Yes. So
you want to become that goddess in music. How many times have you paid to go and watch Diana Hamilton's Awake concert? And ask yourself, how does she pack Christ Temple East and pack in Kumasi and pack in Sunyani? There must be something she's doing right. Don't say, oh, she's lucky. Anything you dismiss in life, you can never attain.
Fair.
Go and sit down, pay money, get a front seat, pay, what do they call that, VIP?
VIP.
So your camera can catch the...
That you wear some.
Yes. How she got on stage, how she dressed, how she... I mean, anyone who is doing anything that you see, I mean, Pastor Tabo just finished his conference, Doulos conference. You may not go to his church, but go and sit down. How do you do a pastor's conference? How do you pack a venue on day one? What do you do? How do you manage it? And one of the most enduring things that emerged was that instead of mass speaking, there were shorter deliveries and more conversations. So now the science behind that, you only know, but it's 2 years of delivering, investing time, investing money. So you must be willing to buy books, buy audios, buy softwares, and sometimes just pay to go and sit and watch someone. You must have a library. So I'll pause here for now. Obviously, your first half is half time.
You're my co-host. It's okay. Yeah, you can interject. You can interject. Yes.
But definitely, yes. Jesse, this point about investment is big for me because if you don't, where your treasure is, there your heart is. If you can't invest time in somebody, you don't love them.
This is Springboard, your virtual university, a program which is proudly brought to you by the Springboard Roadshow Foundation. It's also sponsored by the Enterprise Group, and we are proud and excited to also be supported by the Ghana Grows Program, which is an initiative of the MasterCard Foundation in partnership with the Springboard Roadshow Foundation. My name is Jesse Agyepong, and my guest today is Reverend Albert Ocran, and we are accelerating your drive to make sure that the talent is harnessed quickly. When we come back, there's more. We'll be right back.
Whether it's 1924, 2024, or 2124, we've always known that you are driven by your sense of safety and well-being. It is what drives us to see you through from start to finish, from small to big. And in the last 100 years, as you have evolved, so have we also expanded to serve you in many ways. From cradle to grave, with expertise in insurance, life, pensions, properties, health, and for those beautiful, memorable goodbyes. It's 2024, and in all our markets, our pedigree is recognized, our strength respected, our expertise valued, and our solutions sought by all who desire an advantage in life. Experience the time-tested and truly trusted 100 years legacy of Ghana's oldest insurer. Take charge of your future now. Insurance, life, pensions, property management, funeral services, health insurance. Enterprise, your advantage.
Learn something new every week and be inspired by innovations, impact, and success stories of individuals making strides in the agricultural, agribusiness, technical, and vocational skills sectors on Ghana Grows Ejuma with Arabo Kumsin and Yabitha. Join us this and every Thursday on Facebook at 7 p.m. at Ghana Grows, also at Comfort Ocran A and at Albert N.E. Ocran. On Fridays at 4 p.m. on Joy 99.7 FM and on Sundays at 5:45 p.m. on TV3. Ghana Grows is an initiative of MasterCard Foundation in partnership with the Springboard Roadshow Foundation. If you are a young person and you want to be a part of our various interventions, call or WhatsApp Ghana Grows call center on 0308 255 775. Follow us on all our social media handles. Ghana Grows Ejuma. Hope Day.
You're welcome back. This is Springboard, your virtual university. And if you've joined us, we are traveling the 12-step journey of how to master the skill you have. We've walked through 6 steps so far. We've covered volunteering, the need for mentorship and apprenticeship. We've also covered the need for you to be patient, to endure and have the stamina to go through the journey. We've also touched on the need to develop related skills. We've also touched on the need for a relentless pursuit of excellence. And finally, before the break, we touched on the need for you to invest time and money. My guest would push us forward for the next 6. But before all of that, let me just come to him on whether he has something for me so far as enterprise is concerned.
Yes, before I give you the enterprise tip, please, virtual university, you have to number them. You don't say we've touched on and touched on. You have to say number 1.
Yeah,
you know, something I was doing how to write a business plan.
Yes.
And I just kept going, and I said number 11, and I said number 13. That day, the Joy FM's numbers jumped. You say you've left out number 12. You left out 1. I'm sorry. As more people were writing the 15 points just on the lighter side. Yes. So people like to write number 1, number 2.
Yes,
So next time you mention them, you must say number 1.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yes.
Actually, talking about enterprise, so our enterprise advantage tip for today. I mean, no one wishes for your loved one or relative to die, but if you have taken an insurance premium for several years and you have made no claim, what happens? And that's the question that someone is asking about enterprise. And the response is that for this policy, you can choose a payment term of either 10 years or 15 years. And if nothing happens at the end of the selected term, you'll be entitled to 100% refund of your risk premium, or have the option to leave the rebate and have all relatives covered for their entire lifespan. Get your money back or invest for the other relatives to enjoy for the rest of their lives. This tip is brought to you by the Enterprise Group, and the number to call 030-263-4777. Email info@myenterprisegroup.io. Enterprise, your advantage. Let's remind ourselves of another of our partners, the Ghana Grows Call Center or Customer Service Center. And the number you can call or WhatsApp if you are a young person aged between 15 and 35, especially if you're a young woman looking for opportunities in the areas of agriculture, agribusiness, and ATVET, the number is 030-8255-775. And that is the number where you can get some filler guidance on career clinics you can enjoy for free and several other interventions put together by the Ghana Grows program. The last thing I would mention and hand over back to you, Jesse, is just to keep our commitment to not just amplify the work that young people and young women especially are doing in these sectors, but to buy from them. And the last time I interviewed Edna Frimpong, I promised to buy her shoes. I said, I don't like it for free. I want to pay the full price, not even discount. Because good friends buy.
Good customers pay.
Yeah, and they pay.
Yes,
If you don't pay the phone price, you are a bad customer. You must pay, especially when your friends are starting up. You don't go and smile with them and then and then get their things for free. So, for those on television, I'm wearing Edna's Ahufade. That's a company,
and it's really lovely.
Ahufade. She came to the studio. A young lady. She came to the studio with her. She called it Chelsea boots. I didn't know there was something called Chelsea boots. I was oriented that day. Ahufade is the company we are highlighting today. It's a vibrant fashion brand showcasing the finest Ghanaian-made shoes, clothing, and accessories, and celebrating the richness of our cultural heritage. Edna Frimpong is the face of Ahufade. Her nickname is the Shoemaker Girl. And she has a degree, a first class, but she's doing shoes proudly. And we just encourage businesses like that. And she's a pioneer and one of the winners of the Ghana Grows Young Innovators Awards. So if you want to call Ahufade and buy their Chelsea boots or any of their fashion accessories, the number to call 059 8643 018. 059 8643-018. Jesse, over to you.
Every time I've heard of the concept of order and structure, I think there's a powerful story that has been told by you before. I'm not sure whether it was Solomon and the Queen of Sheba or so, or Queen Sheba or the Queen of Sheba. And when she visited and the palace had order and structure, I think I've heard that message before. I'm not sure where I heard it from.
It's from one of our books called Sheba.
Even better.
And just last week, somebody from Kenya was asking if there's enough he would like to buy for his whole church workforce. But it wasn't enough. The guy met me at the conference and said, if I could buy all.
Can we talk about order and structure?
Order and structure is at the heart of all growth. No matter how talented you are, without order in your life, you will suffer setbacks. I am only quoting this because the person said it in a public space and we have history. So I went to a school in Tadi called Chapel Hill. And one of our role models was Kiki Jan because he played for CBSA.
Yes.
Growing up, he was one of our stars in our primary school. And he talked about days, in one of his interviews, about days when he could have as much as £1 million in his hands because Kiki was just too talented. But he tells a story of not having order in his life. And because he didn't have order, he was supremely talented, but the disorder brought him down to the point where he had no money. And before he passed, Kiki shared a story on several different platforms, encouraging young, talented people to have order, structure, governance in their lives. So talent is not enough. Without order, without structure, without governance, you will be extremely talented, but possibly never even reach the level that Kiki reached. To be able to even say, I was there and I came down. You very often will remain at the rudimentary levels of your talent because to break through to a certain level, there must be order. There must be some level of predictability. You know what you are going for. If you are unpredictable and people don't know what to expect, they can't recommend you confidently.
Agreed.
So there must be order, there must be structure, there must be governance, and it's very key for growing a raw talent.
Do I hear you almost say you need to be disciplined and you need to have routine in what you're saying?
In fact, order and routine are cousins.
Yeah.
So separating them was difficult for me. So now that you bring it up, let me mention routine. I mentioned earlier on that many of my mentors, maybe because of my own proclivities, I tend to admire mentors who have routine. And that's why I literally, you can tell from the conversation that I have a deep respect for Pastor Table.
Yeah.
It's born out of just watching a man of routine. He's very routine. He's very, very predictable in his routine. And it's something that I ultimately admire because you can achieve much more in 24 hours if you're a person of routine than if you're haphazard.
Fair.
And very often, very talented people, very skillful people accomplish far more in one lifetime than others will do in 10 lifetimes. For that to happen, you must have routine. You must work with a schedule. You mustn't just be the kind of person that you stand up and you're going, you wake up and hey, what's the plan today? No, you must have routines and schedules. You will be surprised that you can pack 48 hours into 24 with a routine. Without a routine, you say, oh, I wish I were, somebody said, I wish I were not bivocational. I wish I were doing this full time. If you have a routine, you can be bivocational and accomplish more than somebody who is full time and is disorganized.
I agree.
So the element of order is in the routine, and I agree about that. But very often, accomplished people work with a structure and a routine, and they don't like departing from it.
Inherent somewhere in discipline, my assumption will be that there's the need for you to be guided by integrity and commitment. Now, because you put integrity and commitment together, my assumption is that the integrity is to yourself and to others. Would I be right?
Yes. I crack a joke about, and no quality is priceless. I mean, a survey was done of the 500 biggest and richest CEOs in America at the time. And they were asked, what would you reward in looking for somebody to inherit, manage, promote in your business? And overwhelmingly, they went for integrity. Integrity is much bigger than just being honest. It's much bigger than that. It's being true to the core, the values that you say, these are my values. And I was cracking a joke the last time, just to broaden the concept of integrity. I cracked a joke about Oshin. I've cracked that joke before. About Oshin. That when Oshin was Oshin, the first soap opera in Ghana, some people were so true to Oshin that even when there was doom so, they would literally carry a television and run across the street from Osutula, looking for any house with light. If you don't have the television, I have a television, you have light. Let me put my TV down, plug it, and let's watch Oshin.
I remember so well.
It's just about that level of commitment that says, listen, there may be lights off, but I promise the person in a wedding dress on Thursday, I can't break my promise. So I will deliver the wedding dress, even if it costs me extra to go and do it elsewhere and deliver it. So that part is about delivering on Wednesday, exceeding your promise. And so the example you give about Solomon, the Queen of Sheba, inherent in that example of order, structure, beauty, of an operation that you're just watching it roll out and you're like, hey, Solomon, you are good, was the expression by the Queen of Sheba when she finished watching him, that Charlie, you are even better than I thought. When I was coming, they said you were good, but seeing it, you are better than I thought. That means also that Solomon must deliver it every day. Not that today you are good, then tomorrow it is shoddy. You must deliver it every day.
Consistently.
You are happy, you are sad, you are excited, you are not in a good mood. The day I lost my only sister, I was struggling to host the show, but I had no choice because that day I had made a commitment. The listeners were listening. And I remember coming into the studio, there were tears in my eyes. And then I wiped my face and I host the show. Then somebody sends me a text. What I heard, is it true? When I finished the show, I texted yes. Then I broke down again. But the 1 hour I was on air, you won't even know I'd lost anyone. Was it because I didn't care? Oh, I cared. She was my only sister. But at that point, I had a commitment to the people sitting in front of me from all over the world. I must keep that commitment. And then I broke down afterwards. It's a certain commitment that says, I just can't afford to fail the people who have entrusted their viewership. And that's why 17 years, and somebody says, you still take this thing so personal like you did when you started. I say, yeah. Until I stop hosting this, every show must deliver value. You must matriculate and graduate, and your personal value must go up.
Listeners, last week, if you watch the social media pages of Ghana Grows or Springboard Roadshow Foundation, you would have seen that one of the programs that was conducted was a career clinic. And the topic on career clinic was how to build multiple streams of income. And if you find the time, please go to the Ghana Grows page and watch that specific one. It was also a very, very powerful message on how to diversify yourself and build multiple streams. Now, back to the studio. Leveraging on one's talent into multiple streams. And I know you delivered very heavy on that, but just touch on this briefly as part of how to harness yourself going forward.
One of the biggest arguments people have when I say I have one talent is to say, but you do several things. And I say, but I still have one talent. So one day I settled the issue. I came and listed 20 things I do. And I proved that all the 20 were from just one talent. I'm just a communicator. So whether I'm doing media interviews or broadcasting, hosting a show, emceeing, or preaching, or delivering a coaching session, or facilitating in a training session, everything I do, writing books, is all around my one talent. And I'm not ashamed to say I have one. However, the one that God in his gracious kindness gave me, I have leveraged one talent into multiple streams or expressions. And I'm always looking for one more. So every year, I release a new concept, idea out of the same talent. I don't need a new one. Just the one is okay. But I always want to give it a different expression so you stay relevant and fresh. And that is one skill I would like to share with all our viewers and listeners. Whatever God gave you, there is one river, but you can break it into several streams, and it never ends.
You've seen your life transform year in, year out. How does the person who's listening to us or watching us walk through that journey again to improve consistently?
Take any industry. You will find that every 5 years or so, new stars emerge. And it's very painful when you've been the frontline person and new people come and suddenly it's forgotten that you even won
Marketing Practitioner of the Year.
or some nice award that was given to you and everybody was lining up to your doorstep.
Yes.
And the reality of it is that every one of us needs to reinvent yourself. Different authorities have suggested every 3 years, every 5 years, but the lesson still remains the same. In an ever-changing world, you need to reinvent yourself. And that is the only way you can stay relevant. Even if you are doing the same thing, you need to reinvent yourself. This show has gone through several mutations. When we started at first, it was literally like personality profile. It was about personalities and their achievements. Then a mentor said to me, "Come, this show is beautiful, but after 1 year, it will die." I said, "Why?" He says, "How many people will you find?
They'll finish.
And how the stories will get finished. So switch." And that's what a mentor does. Speaks and lives it. Today, I'm so grateful to him because he forced me to rethink it. He didn't spend an hour. It was just 5 minutes, but I got it. One day we should do a show on mentoring. But sincerely, Jesse, reinvention and continuous improvement is just saying that if you came to buy from me this year, there must be a compelling reason why you must come again next year. You and I went to do a facilitation for a financial institution sometime earlier this year. We had a great time, but what did they say? When you came last year, we thought, let's go to somebody else. But we said, no, it was so good last year. So we were expecting something like that this year. Then you came, not only had you reinvented yourself, brought a different person with you, and then changed the whole approach, but they said it was far better than last year. Then you stay relevant. Then they call you again next year. The moment they call you to sing, to perform, to do anything, and you say, last year was good, but this year, as in one year. That's the beginning of your downfall. So continuous improvement is non-negotiable.
Fair. Finally, for me on this point, which is a 12th point, is on partnership and human relations. It's been key for you, and every point you make is about connections, growth. Would they come back? What are you doing? Who are you doing it for? So how important is this?
This show has been about celebrating people, if you understand it right. And the more you celebrate others, the more your light shines. So I can do this all my life, celebrating other people, and it's just beautiful. But having said that, no one is an island. And Jesse, you can't live for I, me, and myself. So if your whole mental construct is about my talent, it must be seen, I must do well, I must rise, and you don't understand that sometimes your greatest opportunity to rise comes from serving somebody. supporting somebody, helping to lift somebody up, and you think only about yourself, you can only rise to a certain point and you will get stuck. How much of you is there? How much of you is the world interested in? So the concept of Ubuntu, let's rise together. There is enough space in the sky for all of us to rise. The concept of synergy that says that if I help you, Jesse, and you help me, 1 + 1 becomes 3. You become better, I become better. That outlook normally brings more help your way and allows you to also grow faster than if you are just focused on yourself. Sometimes you ever see the story of the food that was put just close to two creatures, two ants, and they were given a ladle far longer than where the food was. And the selfish person is thinking, how do I pick the food in front of me and put it in my mouth? The ladle is too long. Until you understand that, stretch your hand, pick the food in front of the next person, put it in their mouth, then they can also stretch the ladle, pick the food in front of you and put it in your mouth. You both die hungry. So teamwork and partnerships are very key to growing your talent. Jesse, over to you for the 12.
I can't add anything more. In the spirit of rising together, this concept or idea was shared years ago and is being reinvigorated for you today. So you and I can rise together. You've been watching Springboard, your virtual university. This is a program that has been brought to you by the Springboard Roadshow Foundation. My guest today has been Reverend Albert Ocran, and I've had a phenomenal time. Let me recap a bit for you just to give you a sense of the critical success factors, the 12 success factors for you to master your talent. Number 1 is the need for volunteerism. Understanding that once you volunteer, you harness your skills much more sharper. Number 2 is that mentoring delivers so much for you. You learn from those who are ahead of you. Number 3 is a need for you to be patient, the need to endure and build stamina on this journey. Number 4 is the essence of developing related gifts. Number 5 is you being relentless in your pursuit of excellence. Number 6 is you must invest time, and you must also invest money in that which you seek. Number 7 is for the need for you to be guided by order and structure. Number 8 is it's essential for you to be disciplined and build routine for that which you're building. Number 9 is to be guided by integrity and commitment. 10, leverage one talent into multiple streams of income. And then number 11 is continuous improvement. And finally, number 12, the need to build partnership and enhance your human relations.
Which one is your favorite?
My favorite is the last one, number 12.
Why?
It's something I need to work on big time.
You know, I want to ask, as we engage, as is our custom on the virtual university, you will definitely be engaging on social media.
Yes.
So on your behalf, I'm asking our listeners and our viewers, which one of these 12 is your favorite? And you say it is
the number 12. In fact, it's not my area of weakness. I've seen 2 areas of my weakness. But I think one that I find very interesting is the partnership and human relations. I need to work on that. Plus, expand or build on my weaknesses. So I think it's very important. I've learned so much.
Which one is your weakness?
So my weakness is this, that I think that I haven't availed myself a lot for mentorship, to be mentored properly.
Okay.
And I think that I have to do that. And the last one for me is number 8, discipline and routine.
Okay.
Because as a creative, sometimes it's very difficult to be guided by the structure of things. Because as a creative, your mind is very scattered and you're thinking in multiple ways. By the time you realize it's 18 hours and you haven't done anything.
Yeah.
So I have to fix that.
I had this conversation with Nana Kujodia.
Okay. Fantastic. Mind. Yes.
And he says, his argument is that what in the midst of the seeming chaos of the creative, that is their routine. He says, I can, the famous, is it Olivia and Martha? story about this guy who was given an advertising contract and went working, he eat and drink and go and walk and come back, walk and come back. And the last hour of the last day, sits in front of the clock, and the clock is ticking, tick tock, and then he snaps the concept for the Rolls Royce advert. At 100 miles per hour, you can hear the sound of a pendulum clock. And the car was sold out. And you say the guy got the song. He got the song in. He got the concept in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
The late Danny Nettie, who wrote the theme song for Springboard, says he composed it in 5 minutes. But pushed further, he said he reflected on it for a long time and did nothing. So it may be a routine for you as a creative to just keep reflecting. It's like you're wasting your time, but that's a routine as well. So comfort yourself a little. But thanks, Jesse. If I can thank you, is the little I can do. Next week, let's do this again. Or
I think we should.
And
I actually had an amazing time.
The cash version.
Even better.
Yeah.
That's how we monetize it properly.
Yes. Monetization is our topic for next week.
Yes.
How to make cash from your gift.
Okay. I want to bestow on you the honor of this program's closure.
Well, what do I do? Let me say a big thank you to all of you for joining us on this journey. Jesse's been very gracious to agree to sit in the chair as we unpack the issue of talent, driven by somebody just sharing the story about how a message like this exact message, changed his life 15 years ago. So as we celebrate 17 years on this journey on your virtual university, we felt, for the sake of our listeners and viewers who are asking, what exactly did you say 15 years ago? We thought we should bring back this series, and I couldn't host and also present. So Jesse graciously, I've been thinking about it for a while, he doesn't know Kra. So graciously agreed to sit in and host so I could help unpack this in a conversation. And I'm happy that we've been able to tackle last week and today, first the issue of discovery, and then today a 12-part framework for development. Next week, call somebody to call somebody. Tell them Sunday night is devoted to your virtual university. Let's matriculate, and for an hour, let's go into the issue of deployment. How do you profitably deploy your talent, your gift, and your ability? My name is Albert Ocran, with the permission of Jesse Agyepong. Thanking you for joining us on Springboard, your virtual university, brought to you by the Springboard Roadshow Foundation and proudly sponsored by Enterprise Group, in partnership also with the Ghana Growth Program, a collaboration between MasterCard Foundation and the Springboard Roadshow Foundation. Our partners, the Multimedia Group and the Graphic Communications Group. Here I am, Albert Ocran, saying God bless you, and God bless you.